Welcome to Writing Resilience, the podcast for writers who want to write and live the story that sets them free. I'm your host, Lisa Cooper Ellison, a writer, transformational and trauma-informed coach, story alchemist, and fellow traveler on the winding road of healing and creativity. Each week, I'll share tools, practices, and conversations that will help you let go of what no longer serves you as you create stories that change lives, especially your own. Together, we'll explore how to trust your creative voice, support your mental health and resilience, work with your nervous system and unique design, and stay connected to your deepest calling as a writer, even when life gets messy. It's time, my friends, to write and live the story that sets you free. I'm honored to walk that journey alongside you, one story and one episode at a time. Why, hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Writing and Resilience podcast. I am so glad that you are here with me today. So, we are going to talk about an incredibly important but often dismissed aspect of your writing life, and that is rest. And throughout our conversation today, I'm going to talk about three things. I'm going to talk about why rest is important for you, how you can get more rest, and then I'm going to tell you the surprising thing that I learned about myself during my summer break, which was a period when I decided to give myself some rest. So I'm going to begin with a very short story. So 5 years ago, I started following Marie Forleo. If you don't know who Marie Forleo is, she is a motivational speaker with a multi-million-dollar business. She offers classes like B School, which is about how you can become an entrepreneur. She has Marie TV, which is this podcast that she runs and where she interviews different people. She has all of these things that she does, and she does them incredibly well. So I've learned so much from Marie. And she also has a newsletter, by the way. So I have subscribed to the newsletter, and I was getting, regular tips and tricks and things I could think about as an entrepreneur. And then I get this message in May of, I think it was 2020. It may have been 2021. And it says, "Out of the office." And in this message, she talks about how her entire company is taking the month of July off. And I just stopped for a moment and thought, oh my gosh, how is she able to do this? I also thought, this is something I want to do for my own company. But as soon as I started thinking about that, all of the shoulds started coming in. Well, you should be available to all of your clients, and how are you going to be able to make enough money, and do you really deserve this? You're not Marie Forleo. All of these things started coming into my mind that made me think, it's great for Marie, but it's not really for me. Even though I knew the benefits, not just intellectually, but I had actually experienced them because I used to be a public school teacher. And when I was a public school teacher, I had summers off. Now, if you know a public school teacher, then you're going to know that we didn't get all of summer off, but I got a good chunk of time where I could just slow down and just be. And that was so nourishing. And I miss it. I have missed that rhythm in my schedule. And I didn't think I would get it back because of all of those shoulds. Then it was in 2023, it was early 2023. I also follow Brene Brown, who I've been blessed to be able to learn from. I actually took a class, the Daring Greatly course, and I studied with her for 6 months back in 2015. And so I've gotten her newsletter, and in her newsletter, she said she was also taking off. And it just felt like a signal from the universe that I needed to consider this. And so I thought, even though I am not Brene Brown or Marie Forleo with these multi-million-dollar businesses, maybe I could give myself the gift of some time off. So I created a plan to be able to do that. And let me tell you, that plan started out with a ton of hard work because I tried to pack everything I could into the first 6 months of the year so that I could take off in June and then plan in August and just hit the ground running and try to make up for what felt like lost time. So there were times when I worked 7 days a week. And sometimes I would do that for a few weeks at a time. And sometimes I did it for over a month. By the way, I don't recommend this to anyone, but it is what I did. And I'm telling you this because I feel like it's important to be honest about how I was able to come up with this time for myself. So I put in all of that effort to make it happen. And in 2023, even though I was terrified to do it, I set my out of the office message and I told all of my clients, I'm taking a sabbatical and I will be back in August. And I did it, even though it felt really difficult to be off. It was so rejuvenating to me. I decided to do it again in 2024 and I did it again in 2025. All right, so why did I do that? I chose to do that because number one, I want to be sure that I am walking my talk, right? I talk to people all the time about rest, about taking breaks, about listening to your inner voice. And if I'm not doing it, how can I tell you to do that? Why should you follow me if I'm not going to live my truth as well? And one of the things that I know is that the best compass for your life, and especially for your writing life, is your inner compass. And that is that still small voice that speaks to you. And you can only hear that voice if you have some stillness in your life. If you are constantly doing and doing and doing, you are not pausing long enough to be able to hear that voice. And you also cannot reflect on what you're doing. So, you know what's going to happen? You're just going to get more of the same. And sometimes more of the same is great because things are going really well. But there are often patterns that we are repeating again and again that don't serve us. And so, if you're not giving yourself that time off, you are not giving yourself that opportunity to hear what needs to change and how you can grow. Also, as a writer, if you're not in the stillness, you cannot hear the new ideas. You also cannot hear how to put the ideas together. So it's incredibly important for you on multiple levels to give yourself time and space. And I recognize fully that not everyone can give themselves an entire month off, right? You may have a kind of schedule that doesn't allow for that, or a kind of job that doesn't allow for that, or responsibilities that don't allow for that. That's okay. Don't worry. I've got you covered. As a part of this podcast episode, I am going to share some specific strategies you can use to incorporate more stillness and more rest into your writing life and your life in general. But let me tell you what happened this year during my break, right? The first two breaks were wonderful. I had all of these plans for this one. I was going to do hot yoga multiple times a week. I was going to take a few breaks and go off to the beach. I had this whole spiritual practice I was going to do at the beach by myself. I had a writing retreat planned, all of these things planned. And it was going to start with a trip that I was going to take with my husband over the July 4th holiday to Virginia Beach. So we go to Virginia Beach. We have this amazing time. And on the last day of our trip, we are in the ocean and I do the ceremony where I let go of all of my fears. And then we go and we have coffee and we have ice cream and all these fun things. And we said, let's just have one more dip in the ocean. Well, it was high tide. The waves were rolling in really fast and furiously, but that's happened before. And we were more than happy to go out into the ocean that way. In fact, we kind of like it because we can jump the waves and it's a lot of fun. So while we're getting out there, we both get hit by this huge wave that rolls us. And then as I'm standing up, I get hit by another powerful wave that takes most of my body one way and my leg in the other direction. I felt like I was pulled in two, and the way that happened bent my leg in a way that it should never bend. And I felt this pop. And if you ever feel a pop, I can tell you right now, it's not a good thing. So that pop, I learned, was a partially ruptured MCL. And then I also had tears in my meniscus and my ACL. And that took all of my plans that I had and just, threw them in the trash. All I could do was sit on my recliner with my leg up and, just put an ice pack on it again and again and again, and then hobble around my house as best I could. In the beginning, it was absolutely devastating because this was not how I wanted to spend my break. And yet, it was exactly what I needed because what I needed was a period of radical stillness. I needed my entire body to be still in order to recover from all of the hard work that I had been putting in, not just this year, but for the past few years. And I also needed that to be able to listen to that voice inside myself and to reflect on everything that I was doing. So, I'm going to tell you some of the things that I learned in a few minutes. But before that, I want to talk about how you can incorporate more rest into your own life, right? So, I've told you what I did, and I'm also telling you don't do those things. But there are some things that you can do to incorporate more rest into your day and into your life. And so, when you're thinking about rest, I want you to think about the three S's of rest. So, first is sleep, and then stillness, and finally spaciousness. So, sleep, I know for many women, especially if you are of a certain age, can be a really frustrating thing because we're waking up all night and it's difficult to get back to sleep. So, it can feel really stressful. I get it. I am in a place right now where my sleep is really good, but I have had highly dysregulated sleep. And so, what I'm going to tell you, it's the easiest thing you can do is turn off your alarm clock. I know some of you can only do this on the weekends, but I want you to start by just turning off your alarm clock when you can and allowing your body to sleep for as long as it can within reason, because I know some of you have responsibilities that will limit how much you can actually do that. But here's the reason why. In general, we need between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. If you turn off your alarm clock for a period of time, then you will discover how much sleep you actually need. For me, it's about between 7.5 and 8 hours. If I get 8 hours, I feel amazing. And what you'll find is that if you are going to bed at a reasonable hour, right, which may take some discipline, some work on sleep hygiene, and a variety of different things. But if you can do that, you may find that it's easier to go to bed earlier, which will allow you to feel better about turning your alarm clock off. Because once you start getting regulated sleep, you will automatically wake up at the time that you need to. It's magical how that works. But that is something very simple you can do that can relax the body and can lead to more sleep. And I will put some links in the show notes for some other things that you can try related to sleep hygiene, because I think it's such a huge issue. And I want to give you the resources you need in order to increase your sleep. The second thing is stillness. Stillness is something that is counter to all of the things that we are taught as Americans, especially, but as members of the modern world. We are rewarded for doing and doing and doing. And this is very true for writers. We are told that we have to be writing a certain number of words, or we need to be sitting at our desk for a certain amount of time. And then we need to have an author platform. And then we need to lift up everyone else. And then we need to do these other things that will connect us with our audience so that we are constantly on. If you don't have any stillness in your life, you are not going to be able to hear that still small voice. So, I'm going to give you a very easy exercise that you can do, which I've given to many of my clients to promote stillness. And that is to just sit for 1 minute. You can set a timer and stare at a wall. And if you can tolerate it for 1 minute, up it to 5. Just stare at a wall. Or you can close your eyes. Will you get bored? Yes. And that is the point. Because when you are bored and your mind begins to wander, you will make new connections around the ideas you have for your stories. You will get more ideas for your stories. You will learn more things that you need to know about yourself and the trajectory that you're on. So, just adding in that little bit of stillness is important. It will do huge things for you. And that will lead to spaciousness, right? So, spaciousness is a feeling, it is a state of being where you feel like you have ample time in your day. And there are two ways that you can increase your spaciousness. Number one, go slow. Eat at a slower pace. Walk at a slower pace. Get ready at a slower pace. Doing this settles your nervous system and it tells you that you are living in abundance rather than lack, right? When we're constantly going, we're in a minor state of fight, flight, or freeze or fawn. And we are also telling our body and our nervous system that there is not enough. So give yourself that spaciousness by slowing down the activities that you're doing. And that takes me to the next part, which is doing fewer activities. And so, what I want you to do is make a list of all the things you do throughout the day. And I want you to label them as need to do and nice to do. And then I want you to look at that need to do list. The nice to do list is optional. If you get it done, great. If you don't get it done, it's fine. Right. And so I want you to cut out as many nice to do things as you can. And then I want you to scrutinize that need to do list. And that's going to be hard for some of you. I'm going to raise my hand and say sometimes it's really hard for me, but it's also really important. So when you're looking at that need to do list, I want you to ask yourself two questions. Number one, is it true that I need to do this? Sometimes we're telling ourselves that we have to do something, but we don't actually need to do it. It is a choice, right? I need to empty my inbox at the end of every day. I need to clean my house and make it immaculate before I can write. Are those things true? Generally not. And the way that I will think about it is this going to cause harm to myself or someone else? It might cause discomfort, but is it going to cause actual harm? And usually the answer is no. The other thing I want you to ask is, do I need to do it? Because there are going to be things on your need to do list that have to be done, but do you have to be the one who does it? Can you delegate some things or can you ask for help? 9 times out of 10, you're going to find one or two things at least that you can delegate or you can ask for help for. And I know sometimes that can feel really uncomfortable because we may not want to ask for help or we may not be good at it, but it is good practice because it puts you in the cycle of giving and receiving, and you give someone else the benefit of feeling capable and like they are generous, right? So think about it in that way. All right. So we've talked about these 3 S's: sleep, stillness, and spaciousness. Make sure that you give those to yourself. And even if you don't have a month that you can take off, you're going to feel like you've had that month off because your body and your mind are going to be rejuvenated. And so when I was off, I spent a lot of time focusing on those 3 things. I slept in really late. I went slow, and also because I couldn't. I didn't have anything else to do. And I was still often during that time. And that helped me really listen in to my inner voice and really recalibrate the compass by which I do things. So here are some of the things that I learned while I was off. Number one, I need more of those 3 S's. I need more sleep. I need more stillness, and I need more spaciousness. So I'm having to reevaluate everything that I do. And when it comes to that spaciousness piece, right, and really evaluating, do I have to do these things or are they nice to do things? Whenever I'm crossing things off my list and I'm making space in my calendar, a friend of mine that I worked with on this said, you need to make sure that you are reassigning that to writing time, right? So when you are cutting things off the list, ask yourself if you can shift some of that time to your writing time. If you feel like you are writing more, and especially if writing is how you make sense of the world, if it's how you understand your feelings, if it is how you calm your nervous system, you are automatically going to have more spaciousness because you're going to feel like you're doing the thing that you're called to do. So I invite you to do that alongside me. And then this was the thing that surprised me the most of all. And that was that in the silence, as I was meditating at the beginning, and I was sort of feeling this call even before this month began, I heard the word pivot. I heard, Lisa, you need to pivot. You need to look at your business and you need to pivot. And I thought, oh my gosh, that sounds so scary. And, through a process of really journaling about this, They said, you don't have to have a hard pivot. It's not like you're leaving the work that you do, but you need to change the work that you're doing so that it is in greater alignment with your soul's purpose. It is of the highest service to everyone else. Part of being of highest service is making sure that you are taking excellent care of yourself so that you are walking your talk in an even greater way. Because this is something that I heard from the master's teachers and loved ones when I was doing an Akashic Records reading for a friend. And that is that when you are of service to yourself, you are of service to the collective. And that is very important to me because I want to be of service to the collective. And when I talk about the collective, I'm talking about all of you and I'm talking about the world in general. That is an important part of my soul's purpose, to be of service. But I cannot be of service if I am not taking care of myself. So I am on this journey. And it's a big enough journey that I'm making that its own episode. So I'm going to share my pivot story with you in another episode. So stay tuned for that. But for today, I just wanted to say that was something that I really learned that was both scary and exciting. I'm excited to do that. And I also have this trepidation of like, oh my gosh, it's change and change is uncomfortable. But I know how to roll with that. And so I'm excited to go there. So I'm going to wrap up by talking about a couple of the things that we have gone over today. I'm going to reiterate them for you. And that is number one, you want to make sure that you are leaning into those 3 S's. And when you are leaning into those 3 S's, you're going to be able to hear that still small voice inside you. And there are some ways that you can capture what that still small voice has to say so that you can then evaluate it and do something with it. Right. So, one thing you can do is try uncensored journaling or morning pages. So, there are a lot of people who follow Julia Cameron's work and they do morning pages, which in its purest form is 3 pages that are written within 45 minutes of waking up. And so that is an excellent practice. Julia Cameron has great reasons for doing that. I will add a link to one of her articles where she explains that. But if you feel like, oh my gosh, morning pages feels like such a burden, try uncensored journaling, which is pretty much the same thing, but you can do it whenever you want. And you can have it be of whatever length you want. When you are doing this kind of morning pages or uncensored journaling, you want to date it because I want you to go back to it and notice the trends. Notice what you have said to yourself, what messages you've received so that you can evaluate them and again, do something with them. Another thing you can do to help yourself listen is to meditate. There are many different ways that you can meditate. I can do a whole podcast episode on meditation. If you want me to do that, please send me a comment on YouTube, or you can send me a comment on Spotify or Apple Podcasts through the text. But I think being able to meditate, it works in 2 ways. Number one, when you are meditating, and that can be as simple as just staring at the wall, which is in one of the exercises I shared with you, or sitting and stating a mantra, focusing on your breath, or following any kind of guided meditation, you are living into that spaciousness and you are opening up to receiving information. You are also calming your nervous system, which is another way of opening yourself up to spaciousness. A third thing that you can do is have a conversation with yourself while you are walking somewhere or you are lying down. And if you want, get out your phone and get out the voice memo app and just start talking and record yourself. You can also create a note and then, they have that voice to text function. I do this a lot. Just talk out loud and you will be surprised at what you come up with, what you are downloading, this information that still small voice is sharing with you. The other thing that you will be surprised by is how you will figure out what the truth is because you will feel it in your body as you are saying these things out loud. You will figure out where the energy is, and that can help calibrate your inner compass and help you understand where you need to go. So, that's some information about rest. I am going to end today with a message from the masters and teachers and loved ones, which is also a message from your higher self. And this is a message to you about the importance of rest. Stop worrying about the world wants from you and what it wants you to do, and begin thinking about what it is that you want to do. Life is short, it is precious, and it falls away by the snap of the fingers, and you are going to look around and go, what happened to the time? My friends, you deserve to do things with the time that you have that make you happy, that fill you up, and you deserve to have fun. That's what rest allows for, especially when you live into that spaciousness. When you have abundant time, you give yourself permission to have more fun. And when you're doing this, you are enjoying the gift that is you, that beautiful spark that you are, and the gift that you are to the world. So give yourself an opportunity to do that by resting and listening to what that inner voice wants you to know. All right, that is it for this week's episode. Peace, love, and blessings to all of you, and I look forward to talking with you more soon. That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. I couldn't do this podcast without your support. If you love this episode, here are 3 simple ways that you can keep this show thriving. 1, subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. 2, leave a 5-star review so others can find the show. 3, join my engaged dynamic community by signing up for the Writing Your Resilience newsletter. As a thank you, you'll receive a free copy of Ditch Your Inner Critic, 5 tools to transform self-doubt into self-support. Until next time, remember that your story matters. As you write and connect with the truest, most authentic version, you become not just the writer, but the person you're meant to be. And that, my friends, is the real freedom writing can offer.